Hi there, second graders. Welcome to our reading time today. Today we have a couple of goals. Today we're going to recognize and understand what a detail is in our reading. And we're also going to distinguish important information from interesting details. So that means we're kind of telling what's the difference. We're going to separate important information from interesting details. I found a really cool feature that we're going to use today. This is on our Time for Kids website, and I will give you the link to this because you're going to do some more work with this when we're done here. So we're going to look at this Time for Kids magazine, and as you can tell, it is about a new train technology that is making trains faster. And we're going to, in a moment, flip through this article. And we're going to scan the pictures, we're going to skim the words, and we're trying to get an idea about what this article is going to be about. When I say scan and skim, I mean we're just looking over the pages. We're not going to read it, but we are going to look at the title, the photos, and the captions, okay? So let's go ahead and here's some more pictures. Our heading here is fast forward. There's a few captions here. This one says China has been using maglev trains to whisk people from the city of Shanghai to its airport. It says European engineers are working on maglev technology. This train is making a test run in Germany. So I want you to think about what are some things you've already learned just by looking at the photographs and the headings and some of those captions. You can pause me for a minute if you'd like to tell somebody what you predict this article is going to be about just by looking at those things. Okay, here's the big question. What genre is this article? Okay, we should be thinking that this article is a nonfiction genre, okay? And when writers write nonfiction, they include a lot of details to make the writing interesting. And a detail is a little bit of information about something. And these details make the article more interesting, but the details are not the most important information. For example, if I were to say, Jack is one of the kindest people I know. He always goes out of his way to help people. His shoes are brand new. I want you to think, what is the most important information and what is the detail? Again, you can pause me and talk to somebody at home about that or just think about it for a moment. So the most important information here is that he's really nice to people and he helps them out. That's most important. That he has new shoes, that's more of a detail. So when we're learning about something, it's impossible for us to remember all the information that we come across. So we have to try to figure out what information is the most important. And we have to separate our interesting details from our most important information because we want to remember our most important information. So let me show you how we're going to do that today. So we're going to use this chart here to separate our interesting details and our important information. I'm going to start reading a little bit from our article here, and I'm going to show you how I decide which information is a detail and which is important information. And I'm going to jot these things down on my interesting details and important information chart, okay? Let's go ahead. Let's read a little bit of this. Okay, fast forward. A train shoots from a tunnel and zips over a bridge. It passes in a blur over the farmland below. Blink and you can miss it. Japan is testing a new maglev bullet train. It's the fastest train in the world. It reaches speeds of 375 miles per hour. That's more than twice the top speed of the Eccles Express, the fastest train in the United States? Okay, after reading that, I went ahead and filled in an interesting detail and some important information from that first part of our article. Okay, so an interesting detail to me is that this train they're building, the maglev train, is more than twice the speed of the fastest train in the US. That's an interesting detail, but it's not the main point of that part of the article. To me, the main point, the most important information that I want to take away from this article is that Japan is testing a maglev train that can reach the speeds of 375 miles per hour. That would be how I would summarize that part of this article. Okay, we're going to try it together, okay? I'm going to read this next part, and I want you to think, what is the interesting detail here, and what is the important information? And after I read it, I want you to pause and think about it and maybe tell somebody at home what you think, okay? Here we go. Maglev is short for magnetic levitation. This train does not just run on wheels, it also floats. Powerful magnets in the train and rails lift the train 4 inches into the air. They also propel it. And since the train doesn't touch the rails, there's no friction. That means super speeds. So from that, I want you to think, what is the interesting details? What is the important information? I think sometimes it's easier to start with our important information. What did I learn from that section of this article? And then I can go back and look for an interesting detail. So in short, what I learned from this article is that this train is powered by magnets, and that it is is lifted off of the rails. Okay, so I think the most important thing I learned here is that this train is powered by magnets. So I'm going to go over to my chart here, and I'm going to say the maglev train is powered by magnets. Okay, and then I can come back. I would say that an interesting detail is that maglev is short for magnetic levitation. I don't necessarily need to know that to understand what this part of the article is saying, but it is interesting. So I'm going to go over to my chart again, and I'm going to say maglev is short for magnetic levitation. Okay, so now I have 2 interesting details, 2 important information. Your job today is, I am going to include this article in our slide today for reading. I want you to finish reading the article, okay? And I want you to do the same thing I did. I want you to stop every now and again, and I want you to ask yourself, what is the important information? What was an interesting detail from this part? If you can't find one, that's okay, just move on. I would like to challenge you to have at least 2 more things in your column of interesting details and 2 more comments in your important information. Remember that these arrows will help you go to the end also, okay? So you can use the whole rest of this article, including the pictures and the captions, to come up with the rest of your interesting details and important information. Okay, I am going to include a link to a blank chart like this where you can make your own. All right, I think you're going to do great at this. So I think you're really going to like this end too, because it kind of tells us the progression from this in 1829 to what we're talking about today. Okay, good luck, and I will see you soon.